Okay, guys, so we are starting with the session. A very good evening to all the attendees and all our speakers. We all are here today for attending the PS1 talk. So, let me quickly brief you all about how this session is going to work. So, firstly, the speakers would present the PPTs that have been prepared by them one by one. And after all our 7 speakers are done speaking, the ground will be open to your questions. Just a small request, if you have any doubt during the meet, then instead of posting them on the chat box, could you guys please fill the Google form that we will be posting on the chat box during the meet. So this way we'll have all our queries at one place. Okay, so I guess that's all from our side, and we'll start with the session now. So, firstly, I would like to call upon Geeti Oberoi with us, who had interned at Happiest Minds. Over to you, Geeti.
Hi everyone, this is Geeti Oberoi and I'm currently in my third year pursuing MSc Economics and BE Computer Science. So I interned, as told by Soumya, I interned at Happiest Minds, which is headquartered at Bangalore, and I had a really nice experience over there. So I'm here to share it with you all. So before I started off and before the PS list came, I was very skeptical about how this virtual internship would take place. Because firstly, I didn't know how will we coordinate and how will we be guided for the same, but things turned out to be pretty fine for all of us. Yeah, I'll start off by sharing my project experience first. And firstly, I'll describe the domains in which Happiest Mind had offered us projects. So there were 3 domains mainly. First was COE Analytics, which stands for Center of Excellence. Second, second was database business services, and third was IMSS, which was related to management and security systems. So I have also written about the project titles which we were offered, and mine was EdTech Video Analysis. So before starting, I don't know how many of you would be happy to know about what I have created, but it was a virtual proctoring software, and its purpose was to detect any malpractices that might take place in the online examinations. So what we did was recorded videos of the test taker using the webcam, and then did all the basic tests like the eye recognition test, not the eye recognition, the eye movement, the head movements, the face recognition test. So these tests were performed with the help of computer vision, and what we used, the skills for the same, I should not say required, but they were actually, that's something I learned while doing the project. It first was OpenCV with Python. Second, I also used some deep learning libraries such as dlib, TensorFlow, DeepGaze, and GazeML. I've also mentioned them on the slide, and not getting too much into the details of the project. I think the idea of what it was about would be clear to all of you. So yeah, this was my project, and I had not expected to come up with something like this before I had started. And one thing which I would like to mention is that it's not something which is very new, or it's not something which has been made for the first time, but it was a great learning experience for a person like me who hasn't really dived into the world of artificial intelligence as of yet. So yeah, and the good part about it was that we were told that it would be taken forward, and it would a cost-effective solution for the same would be developed by the employees of the company. So we were a group of 3, and plus the mentor. The mentor was pretty approachable, very friendly, and the thing was, yeah, so we did it under the guidance of a mentor, and before starting off coding, like most of us do feel that about writing continuous code on a black screen by yourself, but I think it's just a part of it. main thing about coming up with a software like this is brainstorming sessions which we had, in which we discussed the workflow and everything and how things would go about. I think the coming up with an idea of developing a cost effective solution, user friendly solution with good maybe good UI UX if applicable, is more important than the coding aspect of it, and that's something I learned at Happiest Minds. Also, collaboration was one thing which I came to, I actually experienced while I was interning there. I didn't know my teammates, they were from Hyderabad, but thanks to the technology, everything was pretty smooth, and we were able to complete the project on time. So before I move ahead, I would request Soumya, can we move to the next slide? Yeah, so this was a brief this was a brief intro to my experience at Happiest Minds and the project I did there. Also, I gave you a brief about the startup work culture. As I said, that the mentor over there were very approachable. Why I felt so was because I felt that they were very young people over there, like you and me only, and there wasn't any hierarchy as such which you expect when you enter any organization. So stuff like, should I mail this person? Is this person responsible for telling me this and this? These things weren't applicable. It was a pretty friendly atmosphere, even when I was sitting virtually away from the main station. And now I think I'll move on to like how to choose PS stations. There are multiple domains, and my main dilemma was choosing between IT research or finance. Since I have a dual degree and I had done relevant courses in finance, I felt that maybe I can apply it. I can do a hands-on project on that too. So this was my first thought when I started filling the PS list, but soon I diverted towards IT, not just because it's a growing field, but I felt that I'm going to enter computer science soon as well. And there's nothing much I have done, so I wanted a hands-on project on the same. Plus, machine learning is something which, raises curiosity in most of our minds for very obvious reasons, for the kind of wonders it is doing. So that was pretty much the reason I wanted an machine learning kind of project. So once the PS list came, the first thing I did was shortlist all the IT companies plus the research companies which offered me projects on machine learning. So my first choice was Homi Baba, and second was Happiest Minds, followed by IGCAR, ISRO, and everything which was in a line with my interests. So yeah, this is how I sorted out that if I want to do IT project or I want to go for finance. Plus, the projects I saw for the finance companies weren't very fascinating to me, mainly because I had done similar stuff in my courses. The research work I used to do while I was doing them was pretty much similar, and I wanted to try out something new for my PS. So again, brand versus project. There were some really good finance companies, I would say, like Futures First, Wells Fargo, and you do see these names and you're like, I want to go there. But then it's important to pay heed to what kind of project they're offering to you. Is it something that you want to do at this point? Does it motivate you to explore it, study about it, and then implement it? So for me, that was I was open to either of machine learning or development. Both were new to me, and I felt that it's at this point I want this badly, and I want to explore this field. Whether I like it or not, that's a different story altogether. But at that point, I felt that I want to do this. So I gave priority to my project. Also, there were many research stations which might have been rated above Happiest Minds by the previous year cutoffs or so, but then again, the project was not something which I would have liked to do. Now, why I'm saying, when I talk about brand versus project, when the brand is more or less similar, there is not much difference, then I think one should pay more attention to the project they're offering. This is because at the end of the day, it's what you have done. Even if you go to some other interview, or you share your internship experience with anyone, if you have done something meaningful, if you have done what you wanted to explore, then I think there can be nothing better than that. And that was mainly my reason for choosing Happiest Minds. So yeah. So there is another thing which I would like to cover, which is like things you should do to make the most of your internship. What I feel is that many people feel like PS1 is just an industry experience, and since it was virtual because of the current situation, you probably cannot do much about not learning enough or not being able to do project properly. But I think keeping in touch with your mentor continuously, giving them your ideas, scheduling meets with them, uh, telling them what you want to do, I think that would be appreciated by one and all. And also, I think taking initiative makes you stand out, and not just it makes you stand out, but also you get remembered by the mentor, and then you never know what will knock next at your door. So opportunities can come from anywhere, and I think it's very important to connect with people, network with them, connect with them on LinkedIn, probably schedule regular video calls with them. That in my opinion is the best thing that you can do besides the project you're already doing, because as much as the project is important, so much is the initiative that you take while you spend your time there. So this was pretty much my experience, my learnings this summer. And one last thing, and then I'll probably end with what I wanted to say. So before that, I want to move to the next slide. Please, yeah. Thank you, Soumya. So there's one thing which I really loved about Happiest Minds. That was their approach towards work. I already mentioned about the work culture over there, and I feel I was lucky enough to work in a startup and get to know how things work when there is no hierarchy. And one thing which they taught us also and they implement regularly is mindfulness. It's pretty basic. It's like being in the present, working in the present, and not thinking about getting distracted by what's going to happen, or what has already happened. So we used to have these regular sessions, and what I heard was that those people also have regular sessions between the work hours. They have a day off, in the sense not that they don't do any work, but they don't have any work meetings as such. So it's a stress buster. Moreover, they also come up with good products in the market. It's not that they're lagging behind or something, but they're managing all these things along with taking care of their employees. So I really love this, and I couldn't resist sharing this, even though it may not be very relevant to what you all are here for today. But I guess it's so deep rooted in me also now, that if I go to any public platform and I'm sharing my experience, this has to come up. Yeah, so this was all about it, my experience in Happiest Minds, and I totally loved it. Thank you so much for hearing me out. And yeah, this was it. All the best for you for making PS1 choices. Thank you.
Okay, it was indeed a very insightful and well thought out presentation, Geeti. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on, let's call upon Rishiraj Acharya, who had interned at LOGIQ. Over to you, Rishiraj.
Yeah, thank you, Soumya. And that was a lovely insight, Geeti. I'm going to keep this brief because we are in the midst of a time crunch. So I'm Rishiraj, currently in my third year, pursuing CS at Pilani. First off, I'm going to start off with my with a brief description of my PS station, my allotted project, before moving on to a more general view of the sector as a whole. As you guys can see, the name of my company is Logic Labs, and its primary goal is to optimize the e-shipping process on a national scale. As for the question prevailing in your heads, a total of 10 students were allotted the station, all with a CG in the range of 7.5 to 8.5. There were a total of 3 projects allotted to us, and we were split into teams accordingly, and also asked to fill out a preference form for the same. My project, as is visible on my screen, was first mile route optimization. We had to develop an algorithm to optimize the cost of the process related in the first step of the e-shipping cycle. and develop a website for computing the same with a set of certain input values. As far as the evaluations were concerned, all of them were pretty standard and along the guidelines of the PSG. There were your generic weekly diaries, a couple of quizzes, GT, and the midsum and some reports. And as I already mentioned, you didn't need any prerequisites for the same, but like we had to work with a few things that were pretty new to me. Like there was Google OAuth tools, Grasshopper, MongoDB database, which to be honest don't require a lot of time to pick up, but it would definitely speed things up if you were to have a prior knowledge of the same. And enough of the technicals though. You guys might be wondering why I chose this particular station. Before moving on, I would firstly like to disclose that this was my seventh preference, and my CG was in the ballpark of 7.8 to 7.9 back then. When I was filling out my form, I kind of got off on the wrong foot about that and started to figure trends. This senior got this station at this CG, and so my chances of getting here are pretty high. But let me tell you just one thing: the whole process is pretty dynamic, with a couple stations getting added every now and then, and there is no guarantee of following previous year's trends. The only constant, though, you can keep in mind is the field you want to get your first job in, at least a field you want to try out, just for the sake of it. I then decided to fill out my preferences with my goal in the long run in mind. I didn't have that many projects to my credit back then, just a SOP if I remember correctly. And I just had in mind that my intern season was coming up and I had to maintain a respectable resume somehow. And so I decided to go for project over brand, and picking the ones that would be of utmost relevance while appearing for summer intern interviews as well as placements. Uh, I know the stigma prevalent with PS1 is that it is pretty light and all, and it is just for grades. But believe me, it is up to you to make it count. Even if you have something to officially put on your resume, you can't bluff your way out of an interview if asked about your project. So, in my opinion, it is better to have a project of your liking so you are motivated to work on it. My best advice to you guys would be to do your research well in advance. Find out about your work as much as you can, and though it may seem to defeat the whole purpose of this meet, do not ever bank on a senior's caliber and go with the flow. Just research as much as you can and try it out for yourself. And finally, what did I make out of the station? Firstly, since my project required me to have a strong grip over DSA, which forms the basis of competitive coding, I was able to prepare for summer interns along with working on my project. And secondly, I did manage to get a letter of recommendation from my mentor as well as the founder of the company. I did pick up a few skills on the development side, and finally, I did end up with landing a decent project on my resume and increasing my CG by a bit. Yeah, I just forgot to mention one thing. If you wish and you like your project at the PS1 very much, you can continue working at your station even after the term is over. You can just ask your mentor about that. As was the case with my PS station, I didn't particularly continue after the term, but some of my project mates did. Yeah, so just before handing it over to the next speaker, I would like to state just one thing. Let's be honest, guys. You know you're gonna be paying 60K for it. So I will just say, just make the best use of it in the long run. Yeah, so that's it from my side. I would like to hand it over to Soumya.
Okay, very well explained, Rishiraj. Thank you so much. Now, let us call upon Ansh Shah, who had interned at Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, Kalpakkam. Over to you, Ansh.
Hello. Thank you, Soumya. Yeah, I think we can go to the next slide. Well, good evening, one and all present here. My name is Ansh Shah. I am a third year student studying electrical and electronics engineering. Yes, Triple E, which is supposed to be a very dreaded branch. Not so much. I mean, it's all right. It's all right. Right. Coming to PS1. So I did my PS1 at IGCAR Kalpakkam. Kalpakkam is a very small town somewhere near Chennai in Tamil Nadu. The preferred branches, as you can see, are on the screen. Pretty much a mix of branches, and it's actually a great government research center. So it dabbles in quite a lot of fields. The CG cutoff is about 8 plus. It varies from year to year, but generally in the past few years it has been around 8 to 8.05, 8.1 or something along those lines. Right. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, like, might be having a confusion, just like me, like whether you want to go into, say, core as in your core engineering, or let's say into finance, the management, IT, and whatnot. For me, this dilemma was between core and finance. Obviously, I'd done my core CDC courses and I had scored decent, pretty good grades in them. And on the other hand, I had done a couple of finance courses, one finance course actually, to be very honest. And yeah, it was interesting. So, how do I decide between these two? I obviously talked to a couple of seniors, and then they suggested me to look into the various projects available here. Where do you go look for the projects? Well, there is PS Chronicles, right? It is taken out, it is brought about by the PS division, and you can find it if you go to your mail and just search PS1 Chronicles and whatnot. So, looking at the projects, I was like, the finance projects are somewhat strange, and maybe you could even, if you're really interested, you could probably do it on your own to a certain extent. On the other hand, the projects in core EEE, they seem pretty interesting, but also quite complex, something which you might not be able to do without the guidance of a mentor or a professor. And that is why I thought, all right, this is your chance, Ansh. Let's get into this. And if I do not like it, then probably I can start shifting my focus from core into finance or some other line. That is why I took up a PS in core EEE. Right. So what are the various project domains in EEE core? Like basically they are classified into 6 domains. I won't go into much detail because we do have some sort of a time crunch here, but don't worry. These will be covered in much detail by the professors of EEE department at a somewhat later stage. Right. So we have IoT or Internet of Things, very, very trendy topic these days. Then there is VLSI design, very large scale integration design, deals with FPGAs, field programmable gate arrays, and then there are some of the other sensors and all that, right? Then we have control and automation. The EEE ENI students might be studying control systems, so it is somewhat related to that. Then there is embedded systems. Now, embedded systems is something that even we haven't learned till now. It is a slightly advanced topic, but otherwise it basically requires some C programming to code your ARM microprocessors and stuff. Then there is digital signal processing, machine learning, deep learning. And there will basically be projects regarding applications of AI in fields like satellite imagery or let's say medical imagery and stuff. And then there is power systems. If you're interested in electrical engineering, then there will be projects related to increasing the efficiency of electrical machines and stuff like transmission lines, power generation, distribution, etc. Right. Why did I take IGCAR? First and foremost, the projects available there are vast, numerous, and also there's a lot of variety in them. They're quite interesting. Once again, how did I get to know about this? The PS1 Chronicles. No doubt, the projects would be different every year, but you do get a sort of an idea of what the projects are. The second thing is that IGCAR is a premier research institute in India. Its basic research, obviously from the name, is in nuclear power. And the nuclear power is not as widely used these days because of the dangers associated with it. It has a lot of potential in the near future. So yeah, I thought, why not? Let's go to IGCAR. Also, the thing was that my CG was fairly decent, so I did have a lot of choices. And yeah, I went ahead with IGCAR. Can we go to the next slide, please? Right. What did I do at IGCAR? Look at my project title. Electromagnetic analysis of induction heating coil for vacuum melting system using console software. A lot of complicated words in there. Most of the project titles will be very complicated, but don't worry. What I basically had to do was simulate a graphite block, copper coil, pass some current through the coil, and then look at various waveforms and stuff. It's quite very basic, very simple. And the console software used here is actually quite interesting. Like it's a multi-physics software wherein you can analyze systems having interactions of various different physics. Like here it's electromagnetism and heat transfer. But all very basic, all very simple. I wouldn't like to bore you with the details. Right. So the relevant courses here for me were electromagnetic theory and thermodynamics. What I did in the course of the project was first we started with literature review, which is very essential in research projects. And then And there is obviously you have to get to familiarize yourself with the software, which took quite some lot of time. And then obviously we had to run the analysis, which is fairly basic, fairly simple. How is this project relevant to IGCAR? Well, this process is actually used in the purification of rare metals, and that is actually quite important out there. Okay, enough about my project. What did I learn from this? Well, a lot. First of all, this was my first foray into research. I'd never before done a project or anything, and that is why upon completing it, it gave me a great sense of satisfaction. Wait, did I actually complete it? No. I mean, very few students were actually able to reach to the final outcome. But no issues. We did as much as we could, and the IGCAR scientists understood that, especially due to the online nature, Right. What else? So there is also some very minor nuances I picked up about research, which are very important. Like, how do you actually review a research paper? Do you just read the abstract, read the conclusion, and done? That's not how you go about it. And there are some finer aspects to it. You have to look at various things inside, and that is very important. What else? Soft skills. How soft skills? Well, this time there were a lot of evaluation components, we had to submit project reports, we had to participate in group discussions, and then obviously there were the presentations that we had to give, not just to the PS instructors, but also to the IGCAR scientists. And interacting with the IGCAR scientists, even though it was via webcam, was quite exciting, to be very honest. Right. How is it relevant for CV? Let's talk about relevance for CV in general. A project on your CV, great. Obviously, it is relevant for your CV. But as my friend earlier mentioned, if you're able to pursue your project, to go on with your project under your mentor, with his permission, of course, and then convert it into a possible research paper, that would be fantastic. I mean, it would be a great CV point. So that's there. Was this project relevant for my CV? No. And why? That is how I come to the mistake I committed. Projects are allotted randomly. I was allotted this project. I looked at it. I was not very excited. Electromagnetic analysis. I'm much more interested in electronics. So what should I do? It's like, why should I go ahead and mail professors and all that? No, let it be. Electromagnetic analysis, I've already done electromagnetic theory. So it should be easy. And easy it was. Nothing much in this. So then what happens? How does it reflect on my CV? If I'm applying for, let's say, a job, or let's say a research thesis for something related to electronics, it does not reflect very strongly on my resume. And that was my mistake. So I really urge you to only take up a project in the domain in which you are interested. If you do end up getting a project in the domain in which you have no interest, you can request your professor and get it changed. It's not that difficult. Trust me, it will be very helpful in the future. Right. Any issues faced? Obviously, this being work from home, it was no way near as smooth as it would have been otherwise. But apart from some minor internet connection issues here and there, and some collaboration issues here and there, because mine was a teamwork, was a pair work actually. So in that manner, yeah, some minor issues, but overall, nothing much. Especially because the mentors there were very helpful. The mentors at IGCAR are no doubt very knowledgeable, but they'll continuously keep in touch with you either via WhatsApp or your mail. So really nice people out there. All right. What are the other stations available for AAA core? Well, there is first and foremost Siri Pilani. Now you might think, Pilani? Yes, Siri Pilani is actually a great station, especially for EEE, because it provides projects in all the various domains that I mentioned in the previous slide. And so if you're actually interested in one particular domain, you can go in there. You can select a project and you'll get a project related to that domain. Then there is a semiconductors laboratory in Chandigarh. There is ISRO's SAC Ahmedabad, which will be talked about by one of my friends later. Then there is NCOR in Goa. There is Maritime Research Center in Pune, and a lot more. One thing I would like to mention here is by the time we froze our froze our preferences while filling the form, after that, Samsung Semiconductors and Texas Instruments came for PS1. So what do? We can't do anything. I think what happened was that some students who had registered in Siri Pilani were transferred to both TI and Samsung Semiconductors. Just a couple of students each, but yeah, those guys were pretty lucky. Right. Final thing. Is PS1 a scam? You might have heard this from many seniors' mouths. Like, PS1 is a scam. They take too much money and there is, we are doing an intern. We should be getting money. Never mind. My honest opinion, if you are able to learn something out of your PS1, and you should try to learn something out of your PS1, then you won't think of it as a scam. That's all from my side. Over to you, Soumya.
Thank you so much, Ansh. It was indeed a very informative session. We all got to learn a lot about that. Okay, so now moving on, let us call upon Kanishk Chaudhary, who had interned at Space Application Center, ISRO, Ahmedabad. Over to you, Kanishk.
Yeah, thank you, Soumya, and good evening, everyone. So, I'm a third year student in mechanical engineering, and I did my PS1 in Space Application Center, ISRO, which is in Ahmedabad. Soumya, can you move to the next slide? Next slide, yeah, that's it. So, the CG cutoff for the station was 9.47, but there was no cutoff if you open the station. So, the station was opened by somebody in ENI, and his CG was around 7. So, like, if you have any contacts anywhere and you want to open a station, then feel free. Like, there's no CG cutoff for you, but there'll be CG cutoff for other people who want to get into that station. The preferred branches were the Phoenix branches, mechanical and CS. They preferred physics plus CS over the single degree CS students for some reason. The projects which were allotted to all 4 of us students, that's also given here. ENI and CS projects, like, they seem to be in an alien language, so I won't focus on that. I'll talk about my project, which was on development of proof of concept for mechanically reconfigurable antenna. So the top right figure which you see is, and it's a reflector surface which can change its shape with the help of an actuator system. And like, the first 3 weeks, my task was just to, like, conduct a literature review and try to find the best material for the reflector which could be incorporated. The material had to have certain properties, like flexible enough so that it could bend its shape, but stiff enough so that it can maintain its shape after bending. Then I had to find some potential actuator materials as well. So, like, one example are shape memory alloys. They change their shape when an electric current is passed through it. So, yeah, the first 3 weeks were just like literature review and Googling stuff. After that, like, the mentor who was helping me with the project, he said that I have to do some analysis on ANSYS software. But personally, like, I never touched ANSYS at that time. I still haven't touched ANSYS in my life. I'm more into, like, coding and using MATLAB or Python, something like that. So I told my mentor, like, I'm more comfortable with, like, something related to coding or something wherein I could maybe do a design or something. So he was like, yeah, he said, like, the project deliverables are, like, pretty flexible. So he kind of changed my project in the middle of the PS station. So that's something also which you could do, like, if you're assigned a PS station or you've assigned a project which you're not really comfortable with, you can contact the faculty in charge or your mentor to, like, get it changed to something which you're more comfortable with, or which has softwares which you know already. So I knew softwares like MATLAB and Fusion 360. I started these in my 2-2. So like, both my faculty in charge and my mentor were they said, like, okay, I can do it. Uh, the next part, which is, like, in the bottom right figure, so my project changed to that. So these are, like, large aperture ground satellites, and they are basically divided into multiple arrays of flat plates, and each plate can move, like, even this as an actuator system. And with the movement of each plate, the overall shape of the paraboloid changes. And that is something which ISRO is currently designing and developing right now. And I think in 1 or 2 years' time, they will implement this in India. So my task in this was to make an algorithm on MATLAB which could find the distance the actuator needs to move so that the plate moves from like initial position to a final position. And again, like that was a pretty new thing for me. It involved learning robotics or basics of kinematics, but I was able to get through it because the project seemed like more interesting to me as compared to the previous one. And finally, I had to do an error analysis. So if you're replacing a pure paraboloid shape with an array of flat plates, there will be some difference in error. So I had to minimize the error as well. And yeah, all this took around 7 weeks. So our PS1 was for 5 weeks only, and I asked for an extension, and they approved for it. Next slide, please. So this is the model which I prepared on Fusion 360. So it's got like 5 actuators, in which the center actuators, the actuators which are at the edges, these are linear actuators which can move, and the overall system has like 3 degrees of freedom. It can rotate about the z-axis, and it can translate about it can rotate about 2 axes and translate about the z-axis. So talking about the evaluations in PS1, so we had to make these weekly diaries, and the main thing in that was like just submit it on time somehow and fill in as many details as you can. It was pretty light. Then quizzes were mostly related to the company info, so like the mission and values of the companies, when it was founded, who all are heading it, what is the structure of the company, all that. Mid-sem presentation and report, compre presentation report, or these we had to do. If your tech tree was strong, then good for you. If your tech tree was not strong, then you can manage it. It's not a problem. And finally, the last evaluative was group discussion. It was not related to the project or the company. Uh, that was like handled by a faculty in charge. It was just like a normal group discussion, which you do it before the interview of any company. Next slide, please. So here are some useful resources and tips which you can use if you're selecting your PS station. First thing, the main point which Ansh said in his talk, go through the PS1 Chronicles. You'll get them from Bits Pilani website. Just search on Google PS1 Chronicles Bits Pilani 2020. The first link is that link. They have like segregated the stations based on the sector which each project is in. So it can help you like get an overview of what other seniors did the projects in and in which companies. Second most important resource is PS Queries Bits Pilani Facebook group. Just post a query related to any one of the stations, and there are high chances like somebody will answer that. And 17 and 18 batch PS1 response sheet. You can get the link from any of the seniors. That's not a problem. And ask yourself which sector you like to do your project in. So these are the multiple sectors you can get into, and it doesn't really matter if you have done something or the other in these sectors already, because even I didn't know introductory robotics, but I learned it along the way, and I think most of the speakers here have also learned and applied at the same time. So it depends on what you're interested in and what you like to explore in the future. So based on that, you select a sector which you like to go in, and you shortlist the companies which are giving the project in these sectors. Of course, ask seniors. That's there. Make the best use of a PS1 station. Again, like ask for a project that aligns with your interests, and keep in constant touch with your mentor and faculty in charge, because somewhere in the future you might require a letter of recommendation for them. You might also approach them for an extended project, which could be remote, or you can also go for a third year internship or fourth year thesis if it's possible, because these opportunities are only accessible like if you maintain good contact with them and if they know that you've done some good work. Always remember that a good project station is way better than a good project is way better than a station. So as other speakers have also mentioned, your project outcomes, your skill sets learned and applied, and what you put in a CV and what you answer during your interviews in the future, they all depend on the project which you've done and not necessarily on the station which you've done it in. So even if you got a station which is like, oh, ye kya mil gaya, like I don't want to get into the station, you can still ask for a project which kind of aligns with your interests or which is something which you can do. So that is like way better, and you should make the full use of that opportunity. And for those who don't have much skill sets or extra knowledge, don't worry about it. This is especially for dualites who want to do a project in the BE branch, but they've not even studied a single core CDC. So there'll be ample time for you to learn and apply. Hopefully, you guys get a 2 month or a little more than that internship. Our PS1 was like pretty short. So the longer duration, the better time you'll have to like apply your skill sets. And I'll just give a brief overview about core mech projects in general or stations. So if you are looking for a station which are in the lower CG cutoffs, then there are stations like Bio Research, Sirius Motorsports. Their cutoffs were around 5 or 6, and even they gave some good projects related to robotics, CFD, FEA, and CAD designing. Then, if you want to get into operations or supply chain related projects, then Hyundai Mobis and Nivea, these two companies, they provided projects in operations related roles, and their cutoffs were around 7, so even that's attainable. Another big company which came was L&T Chiuda, which is in Vadodara, and even their cutoff was 7, so even that's something which you could have a look at. And if you want to get into research-based stations, then of course ISRO is there. IGCAR is also a good station. Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, they have most projects are from CS, but I know seniors who were in mechanical and who got a mechanical project over there, so even that's possible. And there are a couple of more stations like Homi Baba Atomic Energy. Their cutoffs are around 7.5 to 8 plus. So if you're into research, then you can get into that as well. That's it from my side. And if you have any questions, like just put it up in the Q&A forum, and I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Kanishk. That was indeed a very insightful presentation. Okay, now moving on. Okay, guys, so let's welcome our next speaker, Rudhir. Rudhir Mehra, who had interned at Amazon Jobs. Over to you, Rudhir.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Soumya. And like, sorry guys for like the delay that happened. I mean, that was pretty. I mean, we never figured out that this delay would occur. So right, guys. So my name is Rudhir Mehra. I'm currently in my 3rd year. I am pursuing a bachelor's in mechanical engineering along with a minor in finance. Right. And I mean, just before I start off with my talk, I mean, I interned at Amazon Jobs, but like just giving you a heads up that this was not a tech station, right? So I did not do any technical work over here. This was like purely like a finance management station, but like still let you know, let's say, you know, irrespective of what project you're allotted, how can you actually be able to like make the best out of it, right? And I'll just try not to make this talk, let's say, more about my project. I like try to keep it, let's say, very generic in terms of what strategies you guys can look at and how can you maximize, let's say, your entire experience of PS1. Soumya, could you like just move to the next step, please? Thanks a lot. Right. So like I'll try to like break my talk down into like these 5 to 6 topics that I've listed, right? What to do if you're a low GPA scorer, right? Is PS1 really light or not, right? So I think like I mean, like by this time, like a lot of speakers that have spoken, right? My friends, like most of them luckily happen to be high CGPA scorers, right? Whereas I was, let's say, at a very decent level. I had a CGPA of 7.51 when I chose my station. In fact, I wasn't even allotted Amazon Jobs in the first place. I think I got lucky to be shifted to Amazon. I had initially got TV Today Network as my station, which was again a data analytics based project based on viewership, right? But I like that's a different story how I got allotted Amazon Jobs. Let's just like focus on the meat of the conversation. Right. So like coming to the first topic at hand, what to do if you're a low GPA scorer? I mean, is it that because, you know, like a lot of people let you know that, you know, since PS1, I mean, there's like a big discrimination between people with high CGPA. They end up getting a lot of good projects. If you're a low CGPA scorer, you won't be able to, you know, like, let's say, get access to a lot of good projects. To some extent, it is true, right? Because I mean, definitely that CGPA difference will make, I mean, it will make a difference somewhere or the other, right? But like in most of the cases, a lot of end outcome of what your project is, or like let's say how good your project is, it really depends whether you are able to, let's say, take ownership of the project or not, or whether you are the one who's actually putting in all that effort in making it something good or not. I'll give you an example. So this same Nerolac paints came, right, and they came actually for operations management. They had not written a lot of description in their project, right, because sometimes like managers are busy or they don't realize that they can, like, let's say, flesh out a little more on the project, right? So what happened was that people with lower CGPA ended up getting Nerolac paints, right? It was an operations management project, right? So I think one of my friends who had a CGPA of 6.8, even he got this project, right? But I think like the end outcome was pretty beautiful, because like they ended up using a lot of Python, a lot of Excel, a lot of estimation models, a lot of predictive models, and since you also have like the supply chain subject coming up, so they were able to do like an equivalently good project right in their PS1 without actually having done SCM. And like, just to give you actually, a lot of companies, they even come for supply chain roles on campus, right? So this project, like a lot of them mention that, if you've done like a project in supply chain, it'll really help you even with your career prospects, right? And this was something that these guys did not realize, right? And like they were let's say, at a very decent CGPA, right? 6.8 to 7.2, right? This was, and I mean, the station had like 25 seats, right? So it's not that, let's say if your CGPA is like, let's say, not 8.5 plus, you'll always get, let's say, like not a very good project, right? You can always avoid that situation. In fact, I'd like to like do a small poll over here, right? For this question, like, is PS1 really light? Just to like gauge, your understanding of is it really light or not. So you may answer. I'll like just start the poll right now. Do you think PS1 is light? And by light, I mean it's not good. Can you guys like see the poll on your screen? Okay, my bad. It's not starting, although I like clicked on start vote. No worries, guys. So like, I'll just like give you like a fair estimate of how should you feel about PS1. And I was like watching this podcast by Bhavin Turakia. Bhavin Turakia is the co-founder of Directa and Zeta and a couple of other amazing startups, right? And he said this one thing, and I would just like you guys to like take note of this thing. He said that it's your moral obligation to perform in proportion to the privilege, to the resources, or to the talent that you have. If you're not doing so, you're actually like, I mean, you're rendering injustice to the society, right? And when I say this, let's say think of a tier 2 student. I mean, before this talk started, I was actually talking to one of my friends who studies in a tier 2 college, and she had a board percentile, like 96%. I mean, she had in a board exams, right? And she, if you visit DUF, you have 96 colleges, 300 to 400 colleges, 300 to 400 students per college, and you only have 120 companies coming for placements, right? From that point of view, you have, let's say, an institute gifted internship season for you, that too in your second year, that too 300 companies coming for, let's say, only 1,000 students, that too no interview process involved, right? And a sure shot guarantee that you will get into a station, right? So all I'm trying to say is that, when you say that PS1 is light, it's not you, it's your privilege speaking, right? You tend to take it light because you've taken it for granted ki arey milna hi hai sabko, what's the big deal? Even if I get into a Nerolac, so what? It's listed on the stock market. They only hire, let's say, close to 50-60 people per year. So what if I'm getting an intern over there? Like, don't think of it that way, right? There's a lot of privilege that has gone in for you to get that station and make the best out of it. That's all that I'm saying, right? I'll talk about whether you can manage a parallel internship with your PS1 or not, and I did, and I'll also like talk about my experience. But let's first talk about the strategies that you can utilize while choosing your station. Just coming on to like one of the topics that has been talked about of the brand versus project game that people mention. I'll be like fairly honest, guys. In 90% of the cases, choose a better project, but where should you tend to prioritize your brand? And like, just take note of this because this is important. In all places wherein there is CV selection for companies, and CV selection mostly happens for non-core roles, right? Wherein, let's say, you might not require coding, or let's say even for some supply chain companies, I've seen CV selection happening, right? What really happens is that your CV will only be there on their table for like 15 to 20 seconds. And this is not me speaking. This is my seniors, who like got into good consulting firms, McKinsey, BCG, Bain, etc. Like, they're the ones who told me this. at sometimes, having a good brand on your CV really helps, because they don't necessarily have the time to go through the entire project that you've done, right? But this is only valid for people who are actually looking for, let's say non-core roles wherein not a lot of subject knowledge might be required. But this is important for you folks to understand. In fact, one of my seniors who got into McKinsey, I told her that, I did my PS at Amazon, and she was like blown. I told her that the project was probably not that good. She still said that, let's say if you are able to learn those skills that might have been required at that time, even in future, you can always discuss as to the potential impact that the project might have caused, right? So there's always some way to turn that around. But this is wherein, a good brand might help you. But again, only valid for, let's say, non-core roles. For all other roles wherein subject knowledge is required, prioritize a good project, right? Talking about how should you go about choosing, let's say, a good PS station, the project part people have definitely mentioned, right? But there's something that you guys need to know. So let's like Geeti, she interned with Happiest Minds, right? Now, let's say if you did not have any past CGPA cutoffs for Happiest Minds, how would you have figured out whether this is a good station or not, right? The only way to do this is to go to LinkedIn, read about companies, read about who's the CEO, look at the profile of their employees, look at the followers that are there at the company, right? A lot of good companies will have, like, let's say, followers in millions, right? A lot of good upcoming startups will have, let's say, followers close to 20,000 to 30,000, right? So like these are rough estimates. I mean, might not stand true for every company, but still, like, these are rough estimates that you can keep in your mind, right? There's a website by the name of Crunchbase. If you go to Crunchbase, you'll figure out how much funding has a startup raised. So let's say on your screen, you're seeing like a rocket ship moving upwards. Can you at least identify what startup that is? If you're not, I mean, you guys are in a bad shape, because that's QLearn, and QLearn actually came to PS1 this time. They offered a project, and they had recently raised $40 million as part of their funding. So if you're not able to figure out as to what might be the value of having QLearn on your CV, you guys are like not in, you guys are probably like myopic from that point of view, because you need to be able to figure out as to what is a good brand, what is not a good brand, or let's say if the projects are equivalent, what company should you tend to, at that stage prioritize, right? Also another thing, I mean, given that your PS1 is online this time, for a lot of online stations, what used to happen was that people used to go out for partying and chilling and drinking, right? I mean, talking from my seniors' experience. So I think one good part is that, since you're at home, although you're not able to do all of this, you're able to, let's say, divert more time to your project. And I'll talk about how that one aspect really helped me elevate my project at Amazon, right? Soumya, could we just move to the next slide, please? Right. So this is wherein, this is my stint at Amazon Jobs. It's a non-tech stint at a tech firm, which is very surprising, right? So when I initially heard of Amazon Jobs, what my first impression was that, will I be doing like all that HR stuff? I mean, because that's not what I signed up for. I'm not doing engineering to be like an HR person, like no disrespect to HR people, right? But when I checked out what Amazon Jobs does, this is like the 4 areas, wherein they operate. And they're offered projects in like, strategies for employer branding across campuses, right? So let's say like Amazon, if you read the news lately, I mean, they've had like this reputation for getting a lot of work done out of their employees, not being very employee friendly, right? How do you change that perception? The second part so the project that I was allotted was, and the pandemic had like just hit at that time. So the project that we guys were working on, building strategies to ensure employee engagement across the organization, right? Sounds interesting, but I'll tell you how the first meet went. So the first meet was with the head of APAC region. I mean, she's the HR head of the APAC region. APAC stands for Asia Pacific region. In the first meet, and I had a lot of people from BITS Hyderabad, and the first meet went like, oh ma'am, what we can do? We can have, let's say, everybody playing COD in the entire organization. We can have people playing PUBG, right? That's how we can maintain engagement. Or what we can do is we can make posters and put them up on your Instagram handle. And I thought, okay, so let's say for the next 6 weeks, is this what I'm going to do? Will I be like making posters and putting them up on Instagram? And I'll tell you, like, this is the stage, wherein I actually got thinking, and wherein I actually realized that, how can I make the best out of the project that I have at hand, right? Because again, Amazon, it's a big firm. Every time I put it up on my CV and somebody sees my LinkedIn profile, people are like, oh wow, you got to intern at Amazon, right? But then at the end of the day, you don't want a bad project to actually overshadow the impact of the company, right? And I'll talk about what we did, and it's pretty interesting to hear of how we avoided that entire situation and how we actually moved to something a lot more technical as compared to like, like a generic designing project, right? Soumya, could we move to the next slide, please? Right. So I'll like talk about the stats of the station a little later, and let's just talk about of the non-linear path that we guys took. So I just figured out that a lot of people in the pandemic were not talking about the fact that there's a lot of mental health deterioration happening, in the sense that, let's say, there's a social distancing is there, people are not connected anymore, they're not able to go to their office, there's no engagement left between employees, right? So if there's a lot of social distancing, there's a lot of mental distress which is coming up, there's a lot of loneliness which is there. How can Amazon do something very different? Because every organization has like policies in place, right? I mean, definitely I can arrange your meeting with the counselor if you're feeling low. Definitely I can, call for entertainment shows and, people who can give a talk and all, right? And then I figured out like probably the best thing that Amazon has is that Amazon has Alexa, right? Can we use Alexa in some way to sort of, bridge this gap for people? And, I changed the entire project from, simply so let's say I figure out that when the pandemic might not, like, let's say that the entire remote working culture, it's not there just as, part of the 3-month time. I mean, because at that time we thought that Corona might go in 3 months, right? It's there to stay for long, right? So we mitigated the entire project into developing long-term strategies for permanent employees, like for employees permanently shifting to remote working culture, right? And how can you actually figure out ways to then keep them connected and then also keep them healthy? So the project that we guys worked on eventually was using Alexa as a mental health chatbot to help people open up, to help people talk to, let's say, a robot, and to, like, let's say, fill in that absence of like a real human being, right? Because this was not just something related to the pandemic. This has also been happening, I mean, outside the pandemic times. I mean, there's a lot of distress that employees have because of maybe, bad managers, or they want to open up, but they can't open up to fellow employees because, I mean, if they complained about you, your job is probably gone, right? So we worked on Alexa skills. I actually figured out like the entire model as to how mental health chatbots are built. We talked about this theory of CBT, which is cognitive behavior theory. We came up with the entire presentation ourselves. We pitched this idea to Amazon. Luckily, my reporting manager, which was the HR person over there, she was working at this intersection of, Alexa as a tool for employees, right? She really liked the idea. And eventually we were able to like take this up as a project at Amazon. Unfortunately, we could not complete it because for me, my PA station was only let's say like 5 weeks long. And out of that, I took out like 1 week to only figure out what is happening and, how can I get the entire team together, right? But all I'm trying to say is that, in the longer run, a lot of the work that you'll do in your project really depends on, let's say, how enthusiastic you are. Had I not like taken up this initiative, all that I would have done in my project is to make Instagram posts, or let's say to do simple employee service. And like there's also something very funny that we did with employee service. So I was just learning Python at that time, and I'd learned some machine learning. What we did was we requested the HR person that was there. We asked her to conduct a cross-organization employee survey, gathered a lot of data, right? Necessarily used Python in it, unnecessarily used Python in it because we wanted to like at least exercise our skills. We literally used KNN and K-means clustering to actually figure out as to which department is the most unsatisfied in the pandemic times. Then use softwares to help that specific department, recommended softwares. I mean, we did not essentially buy the software, but this is all that we did. Right? This is all that we did. And I can still, quote all these big terms in my CV saying that, I use KMC, I use KNN, right? Even though I'd done very little machine learning at that time. But see, at the end of the day, I'll just like wrap up with my last line. And like the other group also did something similar. So they were working on, employer branding. And what they did was they created an entire mock website for Amazon. Like their jobs page, you can see it there on the website. They created the entire mock for it, right? And the way they write it in their CVs is created a mock website for Amazon India, right? Which is a big thing. So like essentially like only would want to leave you guys with this message that there's a lot of privilege that we guys already have enshrined upon us. Make the best use of it, right? Don't, succumb to what other people are saying in terms of PS1 light. Hey, if your CGPA is bad, you can't do a lot of other things, right? You sure can make the best of it. And I hope, like my insights will probably motivate you to do a little better. Other questions, I'll answer them in the chat box. Like, please stay till the end of the session. We'll also like take them up during the Q&A. And like, sorry for taking up too much time. Thanks a lot, guys, for like listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rudhir. It was totally worthwhile. It was definitely a very encouraging and an insightful session. Okay, so now I think we have Shashwat back with us.
Hello everyone.
Just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, is the slide visible?
Yeah. So
Okay.
hi hello everyone. I am Shashwat, and so sorry for the BT before. I didn't had my first slide, so I thought should I directly go ahead with telling the skills, but I guess rather Rudhir completely just nailed it, and I don't think I would be at par at a look when compared to him. Yeah. So I did my PS1 at Williams O'Neill, India. The preferred branches, as you can see, were any. The domains under which William O'Neill offered its projects were sectoral study, data analytics, IT, sales and marketing, and general management. So the sectoral study was the one which was mainly finance based, which I did. Okay. Yeah. So I did my sectoral study, and definitely we'll be talking about the finance project part. So the CG range or the CG cutoff, if we want to have a look, was for sectoral study was around 8 to 9.36, while for overall it was around 7.7, 7.9 to 9.43. So I took a finance project, a strong finance project. Along with I tried, as Rudhir said, I tried a decent brand name on my for my resume as well. There were definitely, as Geeti mentioned, there were Wells Fargo, Futures First, but there and second to this, Ansh also added that their finance project was not that strong. So I instead took a balance between a strong finance project as well as a decent brand name. So William O'Neill India operates in these 5 categories, which is Market Smith India, Algo Smith, which is algo trading based, swing trading, portfolio management, and Panarray, which is still in a beta version. Our work revolved around Market Smith India, which is the basic equity research platform. Though we were given the 60-day premium access to all these platforms during our PS1. So coming to my project, it was core finance equity research involving scenario analysis, which is the process of estimating expected value of a portfolio based on changes in some key factor values. So, the aspects which were covered in my project were fundamental analysis, which has 3 parts, which 3 part I shall tell later, and technical analysis. Coming to the main question, which many of the students have, what are the courses or the knowledge required for a finance project? So the courses relevant for or required for my finance projects were FundaFin, SAPM, BAV, FinMan, and most importantly, FundaFin and SAPM. These were the crucial ones. So I know that not much of the students have done, might have done or will have done by 2 to a majority of these courses. And the best one could have done were FundaFin and DRM. I only did DRM in my 2-2, and to the best of the knowledge, none of the aspects of that course was relevant for this project. So the question is, how did I excel in my project, and how to do a finance PS1 project, core finance PS1, decent and a strong finance project. So I had a Google Meet with my eco-goat friend, who gave me a summary and a few pointers on how to read financial statements and basic FundaFin knowledge. Though even he only did FundaFin and DRM. Secondly, I Googled a lot. Even when you start doing your finance minor or finance courses in your 3-1, it will be recommended that you Google a lot. Each time I used to go through a finance article or a finance paragraph, the terms which I couldn't understand, I just Googled it. And at the end of the PS1, I had a complete glossary of financial terms, or maybe a financial dictionary made of my own, which I even appended in my report as well, which was appreciated. So nonetheless, I did all these courses except FinMan in my 3-1, and honestly speaking, completing these courses in bits in a bits curriculum is much easier versus gaining the same exact knowledge over the internet. it's served to you in these courses at BETS. We can go to the next slide, Soumya. Besides the courses, the skills required for finance projects are Excel, macros, VBA. Macros and VBA is optional. I learned it. Using Bloomberg Terminal, if anyone does not know what a Bloomberg Terminal is and is going for a finance core project, just have a look. It's a bank for financial data. Then thirdly, basic finance and economics understanding, for which I think POE is sufficient. And last but not the least, up to date with news and it affecting stock market. So the time we did our PS1 was fresh COVID times and lockdown. Many individual companies were confused on operation terms. And we doing equity research had to analyze all these companies and provide an investment strategies for such companies. So news is, and will always be important. Coming to what I did in my project. So it was an equity research for TCS stock. All students in our project were given individual companies in either IT domain or FMCG domain. It included macroeconomic analysis, industry analysis for the IT sector, company analysis, and analyzing charts or technical analysis, you might say, which is completely covered in the course SAPM. Next is understanding company's business cycle, which is completely covered in FundaFin and FinMan. And finally, forecasting based on scenario analysis, which is covered in BAV. Right. So as I said, I knew nothing. I couldn't have done a single thing of this project. What I did, I learned all these things during my PS1. I Googled a lot for understanding forecasting. I Googled a lot. And at the end of my PS1, for the things I Googled and along with the Excel skills that I learned, I created a 3-case scenario analysis forecasting model, which based on 3 cases forecasted the company's financial data for the future years. Right. So it was a pretty much hectic effort from my side, and none of the other colleagues at my project put in so much effort. They directly used Bloomberg and for getting the forecasted values, which was also correct as per the project requirements. But still, I gained a few benefits. I did apply for a LOR, but till date, no one in the company has opened the mail. I did use a mail tracker, right? I did use a mail tracker, and which is one of the disadvantages of an online PS. And I was offered a SOP as well as a position in one of the consulting clubs by the PS instructor itself. Right. Besides, the experience that I gained was commendable. We can move to the next slide, Soumya. Right. Coming to the few pointers, which most of the things have already been covered by my friends Rudhir, Geeti, Rishiraj, Ansh, Kanishk. So PS1 grades, if you do well, no need to worry. Honestly, it's already been told that you get an A. It's not always true. My friends' PS were getting scores out of 10 in the range of 8, 9, 10, while our PS instructor gave us marks in the range of 6, 7, 8. So I was worried, but at the end, I would again say if you do well, no need to worry, honestly. So prior sufficient knowledge, I think I have already spoken a lot on this before for the finance aspect. Randomness in the PS1 allotment, it's said, our seniors told us that as we go down to the lower CGs, the randomness in the PS1 station allotment increases. The more CG you have, the better chances you have for getting the desired station, which can be definitely be of your real interest. Coming to interest versus branch, which is mainly covered by Ansh as well. And let's involve the next point as well. Brand image versus project versus peer pressure. So peer pressure, as you can see, you can have a look that people with 9.3, 9.4 CG were there in our project itself, and that too from Pilani campus. But the saying goes that people with such a nice CG should have gone for a government research lab, ISRO, IRS, and they should. Why not? They have excellent projects. ISRO, IGCAR, IRS, they have excellent projects. But I, on a personal level, would promote that one should definitely go in the place where his or her interest lies, and and believe me, you will learn a lot more there. I personally had an option of choosing between IGCAR or a finance station. I chose finance. though the logic that I used at that time was incorrect. I used the logic that remote atomic research would be possible, and it would take a stronger computer from our end, stronger computing device from our end. But that logic was wrong. But I don't, and I would never repent the decision of choosing a finance PS. Why I chose finance? First, interest, and secondly, I took a mixture of strong project plus a brand image, and finally, if you have a look over the internet, finance field is gaining strength in the market, guys. I know it will never compete IT, but still. Coming to the next points, efforts in PS1. The more the real efforts you put in, the better you shall be later. It's true, it's advisable, and it's always true. Next, soft skill building. Definitely, it is one of the most important thing that I got improved with during my PS1. I gained a lot of experience of how to handle groups for assignments, discussions, reports, etc. And finally, other PS station, definitely, as Geeti said, there were a lot better finance PS station like Wells Fargo. But I don't know what was the specific reason, but during the mid session of PS1, Wells Fargo students were shifted to our PS station as well. So look, one more thing that's not been covered, I would like to say that look, all finance stations won't be open for everyone. They might be limited to only B3, and same goes for some IT and core stations as well, limiting the branch criteria. For example, Happiest Minds, as far as I remember, opens for only A7 category, A7 dual, A7 and all. So similar branches, there might be other stations as well which have a branch criteria. So, but nonetheless, there are ample of opportunities in each domain, especially during PS1, and you can always give a try. Okay, so nice having you guys. Looking for the Q&A right after the talk.
Thank you so much, Shashwat. That was indeed a very insightful presentation. We definitely gained a lot out of it. Okay, now moving on. Cool. So moving on, have our last speaker for the day, Pranav, who has turned that Birla White. Over to you, Pranav.
Yeah, thank you, Soumya. So hi guys, first of all, thank you for staying here so patiently with us. And I think my fellow friends, the other speakers, they have covered a very good part here. And it's actually good for you and good for me as well, because I don't think I could have been able to do the justice in the way they have spoken. And good for you because of course you got a better insight than what I could have provided. So I'm assuming you guys might be wondering that what if I have a low CG? If I'm a 5-pointer, I'm a 6-pointer. Maybe some of you guys must be wondering if I have a E grade or an NC grade, will I even get a CG? Shall I opt for a PESO school? Well, let me clear some facts for you. Of course, even if you have a backlog of, let's say, 10 NCs, still you end up getting a PS1 and PS2. And this is a statement from a senior faculty at AUGST. It's not my personal opinion. So just be comfortable with the idea, because I could see a few guys getting a little bit worried about what if I have a low CG, where will I end up? And see, I won't mislead you, because a fact is a fact. And the fact is that if you have a good CGPA, you'll end up with a good PS station. But again, a fact can be a fact, but it can never be the end. You can always turn the table around. So first of all, a small introduction about myself. I'm a pre-final year student at BITS, and my academic enrollment at BITS is with civil engineering, but my career aspiration is not much aligned with civil engineering. So I'm a member at Society of Actuaries. I'm pursuing actuarial science. It's a study of risk management using statistics. Talking about my PS station. So how about we talk about that. Let me just tell you how to make use of the algorithm which we get, how to select a PS station if you're having a bad CGPA. Well, out of a few bad things, there is just one small good thing of having a low CGPA is that you are aware of the fact that you don't have much option. So there is no point in putting up a very fancy PS station in your first preference, because the way PS department works is that what they will do is they just want you to allot your first preference. irrespective of the fact that whatever CGPA you are having. Of course, you won't get it if you are applying for one and you're not eligible for one. All right. So make use of this thing. Do not just end up filling something very fancy and you are aware of it, about the fact that you're not going to get one. So just keep this in mind while you are filling one. Talking about my process, so I did apply for this Birla White industry. So I was aware that I'm having a low CGPA. What should I do? And and having a branch of civil engineering, I'll probably end up in some cement industry and something like that. So I just counted on my stars to end up with a good name, at least a good brand name, which was Birla White. And talking about projects, so I was okay with the idea that even if they give me a core project, I'll do my best and try to end up doing good. But at the same time, I don't know what was into me. Whenever I contacted some senior or someone, they're like, "Ki PS1 mein tumhe mostly bichwarki karna hota hai," and everything like that. But there was this inner belief in me that I'll end up discussing with I'll end up get an opportunity to have a discussion with the HR and just get a good project in hand. And that did turn out pretty well for me. Fortunately, the manager at the PS division, when we had our first group discussion, which was an informal group discussion, kind of introduction session, he very frankly asked us that what exactly, in what ways are you guys skilled about? So I did mention my whatever skill sets I was having. Hey, Swami, can we have that slide of skill sets and everything? Yeah, thank you. So I said, "Ki sir, I know it's cement industry and I am expecting a core project here, frankly speaking. And I won't mind doing that. To be honest, I wasn't in position to make demands. But I just very genuinely said him that, sir, if you give me hands on a research and consulting project, I might be able to do something good with the project." And what I believe is that in the end, it's all about what kind of impact you are creating at the organization or with your project. It really doesn't matter कि तुम्हारा project कितना valuable था in market, it is how much recognized or not, even if it was small or big or in what industry you are working. It's all about what impact you created at the end. So the project on which I was working was we had to minimize the water loss in the industry reservoir. So since it is a cement industry, it has this water tank of huge capacity, which was 4.8 crore water liters. Just to round it up, 5 crore water liters. And the problem was that, Pilani, the industry was located in Jodhpur. So Jodhpur being in the dark zone, by dark zone, I simply mean that the withdrawal and usage of whatever the usage of water is, it is exceeding the recharge amount that it can generate. So, Jodhpur is already having scarcity of water. And usse kya ho raha hai ki in the reservoir, the water tank, say, due to evaporation, a lot of water gets evaporated. So can you fix this issue? So about that, how we went was ki, there are two ways in which water loss is occurring. One of them is seepage and another one is evaporation. So fixing a seepage is not a very big deal, frankly speaking. Market you may find up chemicals or you may just fix the construction and fix the seepage. But what he expected from me was ki, can you come up with something creative ideas and some natural ideas that say we can fix up this evaporation, say the water loss or that issue. So I said, yes, I like to work on it. So you can see the skills required mentioned on the slides here are, you need good research skills. You need to be critical thinker. You need to have something, a good, let's say, insight how to create a strategy. Frankly speaking, with this all fancy terms, strategy consulting, robust research skill, and this pricing strategy and everything, these are just to name. Because in my opinion, what I feel is once you are having a project in your hand and you are feeling responsible about it, you will end up doing good. That's how it has worked for me so far. I mean, I don't kind of insecure myself with the idea that, hey, I don't have this particular skill set. How will I do the project? Because everything is just a matter of time. I don't know, I might be repeating this line, I have mentioned this earlier. So, ye jo 4 skill sets hai, this skill set actually helped me to complete my project. And jo next 2 skill sets hai, this MS Office and soft skills, this will help you in scoring a good marks. So, of course, in each and every phase, your work will be evaluated. You will be actually given marks out of 100 at the end of your project. I managed to get up 100 on 100, which no one other could do in my team. So again, I don't feel that you should be very much pressured with the idea ki, what will happen if I'm having a bad CGPA and everything. Dude, you can simply change it. It's not a big deal. The thing is that ab jo hona tha so ho gaya hai. So you'll have to focus on the fact that what's the good I can make in this situation. And apart from that, if I talk about the project, so it might feel ki you might feel ki acha, this is sounding simple. Well, it is a simple project. I didn't do a very big thing here. I don't feel like that, but I respect whatever what work I did there. So it wasn't just coming up with the ways. Frankly speaking, agar mujhse mera pehla draft mein they would have asked ki hey, how can you fix this issue, environment wala? So I would have said, okay, there is a water reservoir, 5 crore water liter ka uski tank capacity hai. Usse evaporation se water loss ho raha hai. I can suggest maybe some physical methods just so we can control evaporation. Maybe I'll study how what are the factors that affect evaporation. I'll suggest some measures. So मुझे ऐसा लगा, which I could have actually done was कि I could complete this project within a week or two, something like that. But again, I have to be a part of this project for the next 6 weeks. So of course, I can create more impact here. So and that's where I think things changed a bit for me. Because frankly speaking, that thanks Rudhir. Yeah, frankly speaking, the guy, the manager who was contacting us on behalf of the industry, or PS mentor who happens to be a bit faculty at Hyderabad's campus, they said me they were expecting I should come up with one solution framework which is suggesting how can we fix this environment wala issue. Okay, and I can just simply suggest them how should we implement them. What all pros and cons will be there. I actually now I was clear with the idea that I can wrap up this project in a week or 2 weeks, something like that. But yeah, I have to commit it for next 6 weeks. I mean, I've got this opportunity. I've paid $60,000 already. Let's try to create some impact here. And of course, I was expecting I'll impress the management there. For what reason I don't know. But yeah, I was like, I have to just impress them. I actually ended up offering them 4 physical methods, 3 chemical methods, and 2 biological methods, which they were not expecting. There is a variety of possibilities in which they can fix this environment wala issue. And the good part is when you are working for an organization which is directly affecting the environment, so you need to be very aware about the pros and cons of your each and every step. So whatever physical methods I could come up with, I offered them, this is the way in which you should. I asked them the market research and the area research because I wasn't available at the spot. So they had to do this job for me and provide me कि हाँ वहाँ का temperature अभी currently ऐसा रह रहा है, water का tank का dimension ऐसा है and everything. And what I did was for them, I simplified their job. Frankly, they weren't expecting this for me, but I simplified their job by telling them कि so this is this particular physical method. In this way you can implement it. ये इतने time के लिए effective है. This will be the cost that will be incurred here. This is the chemical method. Chemical method is very, very, very economical when compared to some physical method. But of course, this will affect the quality of water. And then there are biological method. Biological method are the best because it won't have a huge installation cost. But at the same time, you shouldn't forget the fact that your plant is in Jodhpur and you have a huge plant. What luck can we have here exactly in managing all those biological ingredients to fix your reservoir? So I offered them everything. If you invest, if the installation cost for the physical thing is 8 lakh rupees, so that's effective for next 1 year. But if the installation cost for chemical method is just 1 lakh, so again that's effective for hardly 2 months. So I actually weigh them, balance them. These are the pros and cons, and then ask them to go ahead and make a decision. So that was about my project. And of course, I would have loved working there on spot on the location. But again, it is what it is. Like we need to accept the fate and just try making out the best out of it. That's what is in my opinion. So frankly speaking, I don't think apart from the projects, I can offer you guys anything more because Rudhir and Ansh and Rishi, everyone, Geeti, everyone has covered every aspect of it. But what I'll say is do not get disheartened with the idea that you're having a low CGPA, then PS is just a waste for you and you probably won't be doing anything in your PS session now. Everything and every gesture in my PS was very healthy for me. there was a moment when I wasn't even interested to fill the preference form because I knew this fact that I don't have that much CGPA. What's the point of doing research and everything? But let me tell you something. The day when we got these are the companies which are existing, I actually, Rudhir advised you very well. You should always go up and look at their LinkedIn profile. And I for some reason, I was just going and Googling that what kind of revenue are they generating? You'll have to look up your things. How is this motivating you, fascinating you? Tabhi you will feel connected and responsible about it, and that will what make you end up doing something good about it. Frankly speaking, मैं जो भी बोल रहा हूँ या whatever Rudhir या anyone, Ansh, Geeti, anyone said actually, just listen to it, keep this in mind. But what I'll suggest is you just have your own cup of tea. Go ahead, do some mistakes, even if I don't know, I shouldn't be saying this because we are here to warn you guys so that you don't do any mistakes actually. But what I'll suggest is it's okay. You have came here, you listen to us, you learn, good. But go ahead, do your own research and just have your own cup of tea, even if it is not very tasty. You won't feel bad about it. Rather than you just listen to me and you end up taking some wrong decisions. Because you will be aware of the fact, this was something which you decided, so there must be some thought or reason behind it. That's why you're doing this. So I think, that was all. And apart from this, I would love to answer any queries, any questions. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks a lot, Pranav. Thanks a lot for all the information and insights into your project. Okay, guys, so we are done with all the speakers, and now the stage is open for Q&A session. So, is there anyone in the crowd who wants to unmute himself and talk to the speakers? The Google Form questions would be entertained later. Apart from that, is there anyone who would like to unmute themselves? We'll wait for 10 seconds.
Just checking up with you once. Are you sure that these guys have this privilege of doing so? Because I'm not sure whether it's allowed generally on AirMe that they can unmute themselves and ask questions.
Acharya, is it not allowed? Okay, wait. Okay, guys, I think you have written all your questions in the Google form that we had circulated. So I think we'll proceed with that, and you guys can still add on to your questions in that Google form. Okay. Okay, so speakers, now it's your time. I want you all to be attentive again. So I want you to help us by answering these questions which belong to different domains. I will just call out the domain and the question, and the concerned seniors may reply. And if any senior who isn't volunteering for that domain but is still willing to answer can rightly do so. So we will start with it. Okay, so the first question is for IT domain. The question is as follows. I am from mechanics branch, but I am interested in machine learning, deep learning, and want to pursue my career in this. How can I start in this from PS1?
Geeti, would you like to answer the question?
Okay, so I think I'll answer. I'll give a few points and then Rishi can add if I have missed anything. So there are some stations which are open to all the branches and they do not have any branch restriction as such, but quite few of them do have this A7 or circuitral branch restrictions. But nevertheless, you'll find the companies with ML projects and you can apply for them, keep them as your top preferences, and I'm sure you can get them if you meet the probably the CG criteria. And yeah, that's it. The ones which are open to all, you can apply for them by keeping them as your top preference, rather than keeping the stations which are specific to your branch.
Okay, thank you, Geeti. Rishiraj, would you like to add on?
Yeah, nothing out of what Geeti mentioned, but just the thing that you don't have to worry about it too much. Even if you have no prior knowledge of ML or DL, it won't matter much because the PS instructor knows that it's your first mainstream project, so they are gonna make you start from scratch. So yeah, don't worry about it too much. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll move on to the next question. So the domain is IT and research lab, and the question is as follows: are there any projects outside of CS/EEE domain available in government research labs? I am MSc Chemistry plus CS who has interest in biochem and related fields. I have 9 CGPA, so what are my possible options?
I think Geeti would be the one to answer this question.
Research stations specifically, they are not restricted to just CS things. So if there is a research station, it will offer you projects in multiple domains. I think Kanishk covered it pretty well. The station which he worked with, ISRO, had projects in A4, A7, A8, and I guess open for other branches as well. So once you enter the research station, and since your CG is pretty good, I'm sure you'll get a research station. You can choose a project which is aligned with your interests.
Just to add to that, so in there's a station called Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, which is a part of ISRO itself. So I know a guy who is in civil. He's also a 9-pointer, and he did a project over there which is related to some environmental study. So most of these government research institutions, especially IGCAR, ISRO, and IARS, these three are like pretty common. They come in almost every year, and they offer projects in almost like every domain because there are a lot of students which get into it. So again, like just have a look at the PS1 Chronicles. Maybe you might find other stations which align with your interests, whose projects align with your interests. Otherwise, these three stations they are pretty accessible for 9-pointer.
Okay, would any speaker like to add to that? Or else we'll move to the next question. Okay,
I think
guys.
we can move on. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So the next question is for the core domain. So the question is, I am interested in civil core. So can you guide what all companies can I apply for that would be beneficial for me with respect to learning as well as my resume? I have been, I think that is the question.
Okay, I try to take this one. See, for core projects related things, government research labs provide great opportunities at same things. Like I don't know about the other all the labs. Better check it out on PS Chronicles. But at IGCAR does take up civil students, so you do have the opportunity to get some decent projects in government research centers. However, if you're looking for like extreme, I mean, I'm not quite sure about what civil core constitutes of, but yeah, you can, as I said, you can look it up in PS1 Chronicles, and I think that would be the best thing to do. But yeah, most government research centers, as said by other speakers too, they do offer projects in most of the domains, so you shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, if may I add to this, Soumya?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
sure. So of course you can work for the organizations Ansh just mentioned about. But I do remember in the Birla itself, there was a project wherein you had to work on the repair and rehabilitation of the reinforced concrete structures. So that was, I believe, a pure core project. So you just don't have to restrict yourself. You'll be working for the government organizations. You have pretty much other options as well. It's not like that. The options in core is not existing. So be comfortable about it.
Yes, I totally agree with Pranav. Same can be said even for like maybe core electrical or electronics. There are lots of stations apart from just government research centers. And yeah, I think some people are also asking a rough CGPA cutoff. See, it varies time to time, but as I said, for IGCAR it is around 8 plus. Some stations do have around 7.5 plus 2. I mean, and then there are some stations which also have like around 9 plus or something. It varies, but yeah, generally if you are around in the range of 8, you do have a pretty decent chance of getting it. Okay, but don't worry, there are lots of other stations apart from government research centers for core. Okay, yeah.
Adding to the point of research in mechanical sector, so the government research centers, there's another one, Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. They were, I think, only for mechanical students. The cutoff for that was around 7.9. Below that, I'm afraid there aren't any government research centers, but they're private research centers. So, main example is Theo Research. They took in a lot of students, like around 20, 30 students. So, like people from CGPA 8 till CGPA 5, they all got Theo centers. And even their projects was like, it was pretty good if you're interested in mechanical. So, even that's an option if you are unable to get a government research center.
Okay, thank you. Now, moving on to the next question. The domain is management. The question is how hectic it will be to do a PS in management sector. Will I be left with some time for other things to learn? And are the management PS based on branch as well as what are the CG cutoffs?
Okay, I think I can like take that one up. A lot of facets to the same question. So to be very honest, no, it's not in general very hectic. In fact, like I think that's true for like majority of the stations, like barring let's say very heavy research stations. I think a lot of management stations won't take up that much of your time, right? If you want to make it hectic, you can definitely you definitely can. I think something that we did with Amazon, because the last 2 weeks were insane because we took up literally a different project. But as such, in terms of like the bare minimum expectations, no. Coming to the fact that can you learn other skills, definitely. In fact, like a lot of people actually utilize the time for their PS actually preparing for their third year internships. Generally true if you're a single degree student. In case, let's say you're looking for off campus opportunities, like I did at my time, also like probably one of the best times to also parallelly start applying to other companies, because I mean, generally during summer vacations, you'll have a lot of other young startups also hiring people. So I did my parallel internship with Goodera. I was able to manage both my Amazon PS station as well as Goodera. In fact, also ended up getting like a return offer from Goodera, right? So it's not hectic at all. Definitely, I mean, if you're somebody who wants like that jolly personal time for yourself at the end of the day, let's say if you want to get free by 5 p.m., that might not be possible. You might have to like stretch a little, maybe let's say take it to maybe dinner time, right? But I think like at least from 9 to 12, I mean, those 3 hours will definitely be there with you. If at all you're not doing if at all you're doing like 2 internships, only then. Otherwise, only with your PS. Hardly, I think like 3 to 4, max 5 hours per day, like not beyond that. I mean, at least basis my experience. And yeah, like answering the CG cutoff question, again, like the trend really varies. So for example, when Walmart came this time, I could actually see like a lot of 9-pointers taking up Walmart, although again, they were offering projects in secondary research. Even Reckitt Benckiser came. So if you guys don't know, RB is like the parent company of Dettol, again, like an immensely huge MNC. For them, the CG cutoff was 7.7. Amazon, unfortunately, I mean, might not have very clear data, but because it got reallotted to some people. But I, with the CGPA like 7.5, was able to get Amazon, and so were like a lot of other batchmates of mine from Hyderabad and Goa. So I mean, it really varies. I mean, don't worry about it. And in fact, even these management stations will vary every year. So we also have had Paytm and Tap Chief coming in the past, in like the past few years. They did not come this year during my time. RB Walmart did not come in the past few years. They came in our year, right? So I think that varies, but don't worry. If at all you're looking at a management station, you'll definitely get at least some good company available at your CGPA.
Okay, thank you. Now moving on to the next question. So this is a general question. Any of you could answer this. Having a not so good CGPA, what should I focus on? Taking an easy station and improve my skills, or taking a heavy station with projects not to my liking?
Yeah, shall I take that one?
Sure.
Yeah, so first of all, whosoever has asked that, why will you end up having something which you don't like? I mean, Swami, can you please repeat the question? I want to listen again all the conditions you said.
Yeah, sure, Pranav. So it said, having a not so good CGPA, what should I focus on? Taking an easy station and improve my skills, or taking a heavy station with projects not to my liking?
Okay. Taking a heavy station. What do they mean by heavy station?
I think probably that a difficult one who has a lot of, work burden.
Okay, so about that, all I can say is ki, you might be having, let's say, a few exemplar list of what qualifies as a heavy station and what qualifies as an easy station. So, how about you just end up catering what problem statements they are offering at the time, or they have offered back in the time, and maybe try to click with that and then make a decision. I hope that's how it can work out until some other speaker has some other advice.
I think I might have like a couple of points if I like gauge the question correctly. Again, it's fairly like an ambiguous question, but I'll still try to do justice to it.
Yeah, even I felt that.
Yeah. So guys, honestly, so irrespective of whatever station you're in, whether it's heavy or whether it's light, like be rest assured that you will get, if not an A, like at least an A minus. Like I've hardly seen people getting B in their PS1. So like don't worry about the CG aspect over there. When it comes to the fact whether, so I think what the question meant was whether taking that heavy station would help me build my skills, or whether I should, take a light station and, like develop skills on my own. I personally feel that, let's say if you do end up getting a good station wherein the project is good enough for you to build upon skills, I think that's the best way to learn skills via a project, right? Because simply doing courses won't really help. In this, and like this is probably true, let's say if in the longer run you're also targeting companies that are, let's say, skill-based companies. Like there's also like this set of people that might target, let's say, more generalist roles. By a generalist role, I mean, let's say, roles that require you to have a better personality versus, let's say, a specific skill set. Although to be very honest, I think it's always safe to have some skill set backed up. So even though I don't prefer coding oriented roles, I still did things like Python, SQL, and ML, right? Just to, let's say, be on a safer side. And yeah, I mean, see, even if you end up taking, let's say, like a light, I think you should still like devote the rest of your time towards building something meaningful, or let's say towards learning something meaningful. But if you can do it via a PS station, I think that will be better, because it will also serve as a project on your resume versus only doing courses on your own, wherein you don't even know whether whether the skill that you're learning, how applicable it is, or let's say what is the end goal of like learning that skill sometimes. So I mean, that's my take. If there's any other interpretation, I mean, like feel free to write it in the chat box, please.
Okay, fair enough, Rudhir. So I think we should move on. Okay. Yeah. So the following question is also a general question. It says, how do PS stations work for dualites as they have no education about their respective BE degrees?
I'd like to take up that question. So as far as being a dualite is concerned, many of the speakers have also mentioned that you get ample time to learn things that you're going to apply. So same was the case with me. I didn't have much idea about things, how things go about in computer science, and I didn't have any prior experience in machine learning per se. Just had done a few courses on Coursera, but beyond that, I hadn't done any project. But I got time to learn. Even the mentor provided us with enough resources, and even if they don't, you can explore on your own always. And since you get time, you can do it on the side. Plus, I don't feel the courses that we do in, since now I'm in third year and I have taken up a few courses in computer science, courses aren't uh, the courses aren't something which you do in real life. They tend to stress more on the theoretical aspects of it and problem solving skills, broadening your horizon for solving the problems that you probably just question solving. And what you do in PS is more of either development, machine learning. So it's totally different. If you have those skills, that would be a plus for you. But even if you don't, you'll get time to learn, and you're there for learning only. So don't stress much about it and get bogged down that you do not have those required skills. So you should not go for it. You should definitely go for it. I'm sure you'll get time to develop those skills. That's all I have to say.
Will any speaker like to add on anything?
I just have like one more suggestion in this case. So let's say if you want to probably explore another field, right? So like getting a PS station in that field is probably like the best way, because otherwise doing things on your own, having that sense of motivation, or even having that sense of clarity as to what path to take up, it sort of like becomes very difficult, right? So let's say even to do a PS station in a field that you don't want to take up long term, it's still okay. I mean, it's probably like the first internship that you will be doing, or some people probably the second, right? So like I think it's still like that risk is worth taking if it gives you an exposure of some other field, because most of the times we're only bound by our perspectives ki array, I had a C in CP, so I probably am not that good at coding, or let's say ML is not my thing, or deep learning is not my thing, right? But I think at least get exposed to what these fields are about and then take an informed decision, and I think PS1 is probably like the best way to do it.
Okay, thank you, Rudhir. Is there any other speaker who would want to add on to something, or else we'll move to the next question now? Okay, so the next question says, will every student have the chance to apply for PS1 even if the CGPA is low?
Yeah, so may I take that one? Yeah. So Soumya, the question was, the person is afraid with the idea that are they eligible to apply for the PS even if they have a very low CGPA? Yeah. So I think I mentioned it earlier. Even if you are having not just a low CGPA, a bunch of NCs in your courses, first year courses, still you end up getting a PS station. It's not like that you won't be allowed to register. Even for PS2, that is applicable, not just for PS1. So, of course, you won't get a very fascinating one, what you can ideally think about. But yeah, you will end up getting a PS station, probably a decent one.
Okay. Thank you, Pranav. Is there any other speaker who would like to add on to this? Okay.
Soumya, like, could you just like repeat the question? I missed the question. I was typing another answer. Sorry.
Sure. So the question said that will every student have the chance to apply for PS1 even if the CGPA is low?
I think so. I mean, by low, like if they mean if like till the time they're above, let's say that level of getting like a campus department, I think yes. Even if it's 5, you still get the chance to apply. So yeah, don't worry. Like there's no CG cutoff per se. Like till the time you are registered on campus, till the time like you haven't been caught cheating and debarred from the campus, like till the time all that is not there, yes, you can definitely apply.
Okay. Thanks, Rudhir. Okay, so moving on to the next question. It's for finance and management domain. So the first question says that how to get a finance or management PS. The second one, what criteria are there for finding a good station? And the third one, finance courses required for offshoot. What are the finance courses?
Yeah, right. So, how to get a management or a finance PS? It's simple enough. I think we have to just fill a preference form accordingly. And for second question, what second? Can you repeat the second question, Soumya?
Yeah, sure. So the second question said, what criteria are there for finding a good station?
Right, as completely as Rudhir already told, go on LinkedIn, go on Crunchbase, have a look. I won't personally promote going only over brand. I would definitely go in line with getting a nice project as well, because you need a nice project in your resume as well. So good station may be a combination of a project as well as a brand name. Right, and the third part, I think third part was offshoot. I think Rudhir might be
I mean, I can like definitely answer about the offshoot thing, and also like probably it's not very pertinent to the topic at hand because offshoot won't be considered for your PS1. It will mostly play a role for your PS2. But just to like give you a bit of context, so what happens is that if you do certain finance courses from let's say your campus, even if let's say your CGPA is low, only the grades of your finance courses get considered while allotting you a station in PS2. And I mean, like, these are some very good stations, honestly. JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, Nomura, Deutsche Bank, etc., etc. Right? I mean, I can definitely go at length and talk about offshoot, but I think for now it's not very required. The only 5 courses that you need to do for your offshoot is FundaFin, DRM, BAV, SAPM, and Finman, right? At least these 5 courses are there. Rest, I mean, things are slightly doubtful as to what other courses are considered. But till the time you have good grades in these 5 courses, mostly your PS2 is secured, at least for finance. There's also an offshoot for IT, but it doesn't really play a role because for IT, people mostly do similar courses. If you are going for an ML station, everybody will do ML and I think a couple of other courses that you have as part of your data science minor. And I think the same also stands true for DSA because everybody does DSA. So like, there's no significant advantage of having a better offshoot because like literally everybody's done the same courses. But with finance, the thing is that even if you do, let's say, courses from Coursera, or even if you have, let's say, like a 9+ CGPA, till the time you haven't done finance courses from campus, you won't get that preferential allotment based on your offshoot for a finance station in PS2 only. Like, don't think about offshoot in PS1. So that's it. I mean, won't delve much deeper into this aspect, but yeah, just a heads up if you don't know about offshoot.
Okay, thank you, Rudhir. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. The next question is, it belongs to the IT domain, but I think it's a pretty generic question. It says my CGPA is 6.95 and I'm not sure what I should do beforehand and how does the process actually work. So do we need to fill preferences or do they provide us?
I think I can address the second part of the question. That is, yeah, we do get to fill the preferences, and there's actually, at least in our time, I'm pretty sure that is what was the standard practice. There is a website or something where you go and you have to select which drag and drop. Basically, you have to select which PS stations you would like to prefer over the others. But yeah, I mean, there is nothing like them allotting you. But yeah, after you fill up your preference form, it is all about who else has filled that your preferred station before others, right? In that case, the final allotment is done on their end, right? About the first question, having a relatively lower CG and what station to choose from. See, I think maybe someone else, maybe Geeti or I don't know, maybe someone else might be able to help you better in terms of IT stations. But I'm pretty sure there are going to be IT stations where the CG cutoff goes even lower. So don't worry, you will most probably get some IT station where there is some sort of software development or app development or maybe even ML and stuff. So I don't think it should be that big of an issue. Though I guess someone else could probably answer.
I agree with Ansh. There are stations for almost all CGs per se, and that's not much of a concern. You'll get a PS station anyway, and if you're looking for IT, I'm sure you'll get it at any CG, because there are many IT stations. Uh, I, I think much of the list is filled with that only, so landing up with it won't be much of an issue.
Okay, I think our question is answered. Now, moving on to the next question. The question says that, So the question says, what happens if one has NC in a course from the first semester and has not been able to repeat the course due to COVID and different semesters of first and second years? Will they be able to get PS1? I think it was answered by Pranav, this question.
Yeah, I answered it. So just to make you feel more comfortable, even if you are having an NC in your CDC, whatever core project or core branches you are associated with, even in that case, you'll land up with a core project.
Okay, I think
that was all.
Yeah. I think the question is answered. Okay. So the next question says, it is again a generic question. It says, how are the accommodation and living arrangements made during PS? Do we have to manage it ourselves?
This question is not quite relevant for our batch. Is accommodation available? Well, if you're at home, it's definitely available. Is food available? Yes, it's available. But I think these types of questions would be better answered via the Facebook group PS queries and stuff, where our seniors would probably be able to answer it. So yeah, that's all from my side. If anyone would like to add something.
As far as I have heard, they do give you accommodation, but it isn't that good. So mostly people arrange it for themselves. So that's all I know about the accommodation aspect of it, and it isn't relevant to a batch because we had a virtual internship.
Yeah,
I think unfortunately, like you guys, even you guys should probably like not bother about accommodation, because even for you, it's probably gonna be online only. So yeah.
I think all we can do, Rudhir, is wish them luck that they get an opportunity.
Sure. Definitely, yes. We'll be more than happy. If you have an offline PS, because I think even we missed out on, that experience of it, going to that big office, interacting with, let's say, a lot of other professionals also. But yeah, fingers crossed. Let's just hope that it goes offline. Even if it's online, don't worry. There's not a lot of compromise apart, barring these couple of additional factors, like moving in the city, exploring the city, or, exploring the office or meeting other people. I think barring that aspect, everything mostly remains.
Adding to one more point, if you guys have offline PS, it depends on the station. Some stations provide accommodation on their own, but for majority of the stations, you need to manage accommodation.
Okay, cool. I think that question is pretty well answered. Now, moving on to the next question. It is a question regarding a government research lab domain. And it says that, is it recommended to go for PS if you're aiming to go for research after graduating from college?
Yeah, I think I can take that up. So yeah, if you're aiming for research related stuff, then see, PS1 is as such going to be compulsory if you want to do PS2. Now, if you're aiming for research, you might also be thinking of converting your PS2 into a thesis. In that case, PS1 is not exactly compulsory for you, but I would still suggest at least getting some industry exposure, some sort of a project on your CV, which would reflect well for your applications towards the end for post graduation, right? I think that is my point of view, because if you especially have a decent CG and get a project at let's say government research labs, well, to be very honest, even if you don't have that great a CG and you do some project at a non-government research lab, that shouldn't be a problem. As long as it's a project, it's somewhat research oriented project, then I think you should be good.
Okay. Does anyone want to add on to that? Okay, then I think we'll move to the next question. So the next question is for the IT sector. It says, for the IT companies in PS1, do we get information on what platform, softwares, or languages they are using for development so that we may choose the ones we are comfortable with? Yeah, that's the question.
For many of the companies, the prerequisite skill set was mentioned for us, but for many of them it wasn't mentioned also. But with the help of the project title, you can get an idea of what all you would require. I guess once you get the PS station, the after approaching the mentor, having the first orientation and all, you will get the resources for learning stuff before the project starts. So for a week or so, we didn't start with the project. They gave us the resources, and we learned stuff using that. If Rishi, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just Shaumya, can you just repeat the question also?
Yeah, sure, Rishiraj. So the question said that for the IT companies in PS1, do we get information on what platform, softwares, or languages they're using for development so that we may choose the ones that we are comfortable with?
Yeah, I think I can answer the question. So yeah, as I stated earlier, the our mentors know that it's our first mainstream internship, so they are pretty aware that we don't have a hands-on experience using any of the tools that they are going to mention or that we are going to require for our projects. So yeah, they will be always be there to guide you through it all. Like starting from the very basics, if you don't even know what software to use, you can ask them for suggestions and all, and they will at least in my PS they just like say my PS was on optimization techniques, so they just gave me a brief overview of what was there to do in the PS. Then they moved on to code a particular piece of the project for us, like around 10% of the code they completed, and that helped us in moving forward with the project. So you don't need to worry about that. They'll completely guide you through the project. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that very well answers the question, I think. Moving on to the next question. It says, is it necessary to have a prior skill set, example, ML, backend, etc., before PS1?
It's always a plus to have all this. If you know it, you'll always obviously be at an edge. Since you can get onto the project directly. But even if you don't, it's not a problem. I think we all of us have reiterated it many times, and you'll get proper guidance for your project, the proper resources, and how to go about it. The mentor would also discuss the workflow with you, so you should be fine, and not having is not a problem at all.
Yeah, the only plus if if you have prior information on that particular domain, you can suggest improvements in that domain also. That's the only plus you're gonna get there. But yeah, most of us don't have prior information about what software we are gonna use, so I don't think that's a pretty big concern.
You can give ideas irrespective, and yeah, but if you know that stuff, you can contribute better, in my opinion.
PSD gives certain keywords for what PS1 actually means, and those keywords are experience and exposure. So don't consider PS1 to be like your first job. Consider it to be like a learning experience. That's it.
Okay, so I think the questions are well answered. Now, moving on to the last couple of questions. So, the question says, what exactly is consulting all about? I opted for POM by choice and I don't want to explore finance. So, what are my options in management exclusive of finance sector?
Sahab. So guys, I said like just a heads up, honestly. I just feel like so probably like bit scores are maybe like not the best way to gauge whether a particular field interests you or not. I honestly like did a couple of finance courses before I opted for my minor, liked them a little more than what was being taught to me at college, right? So I think like irrespective of how your experience has been with certain courses, I mean, if you still feel that, somewhere or the other at your own level, if you like doing that subject, I think you can still carry on. Like, don't make that one course like your sole reason. So let's say if you did not like POM, or let's say if you end up scoring like a bad grade in POM, or let's say if you did not like CP and you, let's say, get a C or a C minus in CP, like, don't take that to be the sole criteria and think कि अरे मेरे से coding नहीं होगी, if I'm bad at POM मेरे से management नहीं होगी, right? A lot of things in practicality actually are very different from what I mean is taught to you theoretically, right? I mean, catering to the question as to what consulting is all about, I think it's better that if you actually want to explore it, you probably try attending case studies. You probably try interacting with folks who are there at good consulting society. So again, like, I'm part of 180DC. If you want to connect with me personally, we can, right? But on a larger level, it's all about problem solving. It's mostly catered to, let's say if it's management consulting, it's like mostly catered to managerial issues, or let's say strategic issues, or, let's say business expansion, or things like business development, right? On the other hand, I mean, you can also have other financial specific consulting companies. You can also have risk management companies. So like, it's a vast field, but at the core of it, it's more about problem solving, right? So no matter what domain you come from, you can even be, so let's say a lot of people who've done IT, even they operate as, let's say as technical consultants, right? They give IT advisory to a couple of other smaller, or let's say not very tech savvy firms. So let's say Accenture is one of those IT consulting firms that you can look at, right? So it's all about problem solving. Any field that you take up, you can always end up, being a problem solver somewhere or the other. I hope that answers your question.
I can totally relate to that question because as a 9-pointer, I almost flunked fund of fin. So finance is not really my cup of tea. Talking about consultancy, like management consulting and IT consulting is one thing. Another thing is engineering consulting. So if, let's say, you're interested in a core branch, you can act as a consultant in that branch also. Like, that requires a lot of experience. But like, relating that to PS1, I don't think there are a lot of consulting based projects which you could take up. The closest to that would be something related to operations supply chain, because you said you're interested in management and not finance side.
Well, like, there's another pointer. I mean, I just like got reminded after what Kanishk said. So like, there's a firm by the name of Pass Consulting. I think they've been coming. I think probably I could see that even like a couple of years back they were there, right? So although again, that happens to be like a digital advisory firm, right, an IT digital advisory firm. So although that at the core these people are again consultants, but they still have a lot of projects that these guys do in Azure, right, or let's say even AWS, right, for that matter of fact. So let's say if you want to explore consulting, like, don't just limit yourself only thinking that consulting is more about solving business issues. It's about like solving any problem if you want to. And in fact, like, Past Consulting in the past has had like very good reviews, because getting to work on Azure before sitting, let's say, for your placements is again like a big plus point, because till the time you've not interned at least like a proper company, you won't be able to probably like make sense of what you can do with Azure, even if I like give you the entire platform tomorrow, right? So that is where like most of us also resonated with this point, that even if, let's say, from day one you don't understand what the skill or what the field is about, it's still worth exploring and probably having it on your resume, or at least getting exposed to like the nuances of that field.
Okay, thank you all the speakers. I think we have a question answered pretty well. Moving on to the next question. It says that for someone confused between finance and IT, that person is a CS dual and hasn't done much work in both the fields. So which field would you recommend?
I also had a similar dilemma when I was choosing my station. So as far as this is concerned, I think it's what you want at the moment. You can look at the project titles and decide for yourself if that project motivates you and you want to explore that field as of then. So for me, the finance projects didn't sound very interesting, especially with the companies that I looked for, like Futures First and Wells Fargo. I had mentioned it while I was telling about my experience. So I went over to IT because I felt that there was more variety of projects and there was more which it had to offer. There is no yes or no to right or wrong to whether to go for finance or for IT. It's just that whatever you take up, do it with full dedication and just make the best out of whatever you consider taking up. It's just making your right, nothing else.
Yeah, right. Geeti has well said. I would personally say that you should go for a IT PS1 because irrespective of the interest in the finance field, you might do finance courses in your third year at SDELs, and I think that would compensate it pretty well. So
Yeah, and continue.
yeah, so if you have an option, and definitely you can go for a PS2 eco PS2 like a finance bank with JP Morgan Credit Suisse etc. in your PS2 if you are a dualite. So you can go ahead with the IT.
Yeah, and to whoever asked that question, I would like to say that I was in a pretty similar situation last year because I had decided that I'm going for a finance minor in my third year, and I was torn between taking up an ITPS or a finance PS. I finally decided with an ITPS because I had a bit more edge over the IT sector rather than finance because I hadn't done any finance courses up till my 2-2, which is when you will be doing your PS1. So yeah, I chose IT as my sector in PS1, and I'm hoping to get a finance sector in my PS2. Yeah, but just as Ansh or Rudhir, I don't remember who said, I think it's better at this point of time you opt for an IT station, personally speaking.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we move on to the next question. So the next question says that So it says that can you please brief about actuarial science domain, prerequisites and time to be devoted if pursuing while still in college? Pranav, I think you can answer this well.
Yeah, sure. Hi. So to whosoever it may concern, yeah. So he wants to know about actuarial science. He or
Perfect.
she.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, actuarial science is basically a discipline which applies mathematically as statistical methods to assess risk in insurance, finance, yeah, in pretty much any profession or in any industry. So we actually go through a little extensive curriculum wherein we study 24 papers, actuarial statistics, actuarial mathematics, financial engineering, loss reservoing. I actually don't want to spam you by naming all of them because you can find it on internet. But what you actually want to know is, Somek is looking for how can he manage it with enrollment at BITS.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest with you. You won't have a very great time managing both, honestly speaking. And at the same time, I'll be. The thing is that at BITS I'm not very committed to my courses. To be honest, I'm happy with the idea that I'm scoring an average here and I'm doing good back in that field. So if that is something you are looking forward to pay, so you should opt for it. And at the same time, if you plan to opt actuarial science after BITS, then it might not be a very wise decision to do because it takes around, on an average, it takes around 6 years to complete all the papers. But again, you don't necessarily need to complete all the papers in actuarial science. Like clearing, beginning from 3 or 4 papers might even land you a good job because all of them are individual level, at their own individual level. They're not connected. It's a professional course, just like chartered accountancy. But in chartered accountancy, being a CA, you have to clear part 1, part 2, part 3. But ISME, the thing is that all the papers needs to actually are independent, and whatever one paper you clear with, you are an expertise in that, and you can land up with a job accordingly. So it is an extensive course, to be honest. But I want you to figure out that by yourself. To be honest, I didn't opt for actuarial science under the impression of someone. मैंने खुद से research किया, good. I thought this is something I can bear with, and at the same time I find it cool to connect with, so I just opted for it. So how about you go and search a little, and maybe you can connect with me on via my email ID or via LinkedIn profile, just in case if you're still with us in the meeting. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot, Pranav.
Hey, Avi, just a second. Avi, can you please connect on some other platform because this was supposed to be for PS1. I would love to talk to you, but let's. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, Soumya, please go.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Pranav. Okay, and guys, due to time crunch, we would have to end the session. There are a few more questions pending, but don't worry. We'll definitely make all the speakers answer those questions to you personally. And due to time crunch, we would have to end the session. But thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. It means a lot that you gave us your time. I hope this session was fruitful. Thanks a lot once again for joining.